of the questions on our smokers questionnaire. Does it make you feel stupid?
Yes.
Does it make you feel weak?
Yes.
Does it make you feel foolish?
Yes.
Does it make you feel out of control?
Yeah.
Don't you believe it, Buster?
You're not stupid. You're not weak. You're not out of control. You're not foolish.
Because I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me.
Mike Trevisano.
Weekdays at 3.
WTAM 1100. Rick Gilmore.
Houston, we have a problem.
On News Radio WTAM 1100.
I was reading this obit about Guy Stockwell. I didn't even know who he was. Said he was in 30 movies, 250 TV shows, until I read he's the brother of Dean Stockwell. Well, no wonder he was on, what was that show? Quantum Leap. Because Dean Stockwell had a part on the show, so he got his brother work. Apparently that's all it is. Guy was how old? 69 years old. But what was Dean Stockwell best known for? The boy with green hair. I believe he was a child actor, and he made that film way back in 1946 or something like that. Other than that, what's Dean Stockwell been in? Although I know he chummed around with Dennis Hopper, and they did a lot of drugs back in the 60s. So I guess they both cleaned up their act enough to move on. This from South Haven, Michigan. Sticky fingers have cost a beauty queen her crown. 18-year-old Lucy Bild won the title of Miss South Haven in January. Woohoo! Go Miss South Haven. That was before committee members learned that she'd been convicted of shoplifting. Her title's been revoked and given to the first runner-up, who also won the Miss Congeniality Award. I have frightfully little room in my day for thieves. I remember as a kid, I collected Matchbox cars. I still have them. Some of them were spirited away by a friend. And I just have no patience. There's no room in the day for anybody. You touch my stuff, you're a dead man. Anybody touches my stuff, you're dead. Keep your hands off my stuff, I'll keep my hands off your stuff. I believe in karma. I, as a kid, stole something, I don't remember what it was. And then something bad happened to me. I don't remember what it was either. But even before I'd heard of karma, I put the two together. And I thought, geez, maybe that bad thing wouldn't have happened to me if I hadn't been out there doing something wrong and stealing. I remember pushing a buddy of mine out of a convenience store on a skateboard. They sold skateboards. And he stood on it, and the clerk was so dumb that I rolled him out. It's probably the last thing that I had a hand in stealing. I guess, well, there was the great beer robbery of 1977. Did you ever hear that story? I did not have a driver's license. But I borrowed my father's car. He had a 69 Toyota Corona. I borrowed it, and me and three buddies went up to the corner store. And I walked in, and I said, oh, my stomach. Oh, I think I got the flu. I'm going to be sick. Can I use your bathroom? And the clerk said, sure. And I went in back, and I took that big bar across the door that they have to make sure that you can't break in. And took that big bar off and opened the back door of the store and opened the cooler and proceeded to spirit away about 25 cases of beer. Now, it was a rainy, snowy. It's been a long time ago. I remember the details. I've told this story before. It was a snowy Thanksgiving. And I parked the car in the next parking lot over. And two of the guys, one guy stayed in the car and kept watch. And two of the guys ran back and forth and filled the car, literally filled the car with all this beer. They were running through snow that was almost waist deep. There was a field in between the parking lot and the building. We got in the car and went up the road and made a right-hand turn, and my buddy said, let me turn the defroster on. And he turned it on, and immediately it fogged the windows up, and I drove right off the road in a ditch. It took two pickup trucks hooked together to pull a Toyota out of the ditch. And I gave them beer. And proceeded to go home and then load all the beer into the front of a car that was mine, was a 61 Corvair. Had Thanksgiving dinner. It was a fine meal. And then went later, picked up a buddy of mine, who was one of the guys, one of the cohorts for the great beer robbery of 1977. Proceeded to drive around in North Olmsted, picked up a girl who was hitchhiking, Got pulled over by the North Olmsted cops. This guy's dad happened to be a court referee. They asked for my license, and I wouldn't show it to him because I didn't have one, but I didn't tell him that. And they proceeded to take us to a bar. It was called the 8-Ball Lounge, and make us stand in the snow because 2 men and a woman had robbed the bar. Well, it turned out that they could not identify us because we did not rob the bar, although the people inside were pointing to us, and the cop asked if he could look under the hood of the Corvair. And just about that time, they could not identify us, so we got a chance to leave before he would have opened up the front of the car and found it loaded with beer, which we were not old enough to drive or old enough to drink, and proceeded to go to a party and drank all the beer. But it seemed to me, and then when we got back in the car, the girl said, "Thank God they didn't find my drugs," and pulled a Band-Aid box out from under the front seat. I kicked her out. She said, "Well, you can't throw me out. It's freezing out here." I said, "Yes, I can," and kicked her out. I don't know where she is now. Probably in a psychiatric hospital or something. But it seemed to me that all this bad stuff that surrounded stealing beer, driving off the road and getting pulled over, and I guess it could have been worse. Cop could have actually wanted me to produce a license. They just called my friend's father, who, like I said, was a court referee, and he said, "Well, of course Rick's got a license because he drives my son to school every day." That was true, too. But I didn't have a license. I eventually ended up getting caught driving without a license and lost the ability to get a license until I was 16 and a half. Maybe it all tied together. That was probably the last thing I ever stole. I had bad luck surround that whole incident. And I just decided at some point, it's bad karma. If you steal something, maybe something bad will happen to you. Besides going to jail. Just bad luck. So what for Little Miss Congeniality in South Haven, in Michigan? I have no sympathy for her. That's the least of her worries, is not being a beauty queen. She's still beautiful, isn't she? Aw, don't hate her because she's beautiful. With sticky fingers! Little thief. Glenn, you're on the air.
Hey, Rick.
Howdy.
You were just talking about you never stole anything before, and that's when I just started catching. I was calling in to remind you. I was the other guy. Remember, I called you a couple summers ago. We're talking about Bush getting caught with the DUI and how we straightened out as we got older.
Oh, yeah.
The one guy that ran in there, and we ran 12-pack up to the counter and scream Yahoo and go running out.
Yeah, we used to dine and dash.
Oh, yeah.
We got chased by the cops.
Oh, yeah.
But we grow up and we change, and we don't do that anymore. And some folks don't. Some folks end up in jail.
Well, actually, a few of my friends that I went to school with are still probably in jail.
Yeah, well, in fact, this guy that was with me for the Great Bear Robbery is probably in jail. If not, he should be. Last I heard, he was the crack cocaine king of West 41st and Clark. So, hey, so much for a life of crime, huh?
That's right.
Yeah, this guy had broken his hands so many times from being in fights he couldn't even fight anymore because he ended up punching a cigarette machine in a bar. It broke that bone right along by your pinky. And once you break that bone, you can't fight anymore.
No.
So
you're crippled for life after that.
Yeah, so then he decided to sell crack cocaine.
Well, that's better.
That's a step up, isn't it? That way.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like the projects down by my house. Every time I drive by, there's somebody trying to wave me down to sell me crack. And don't dare go around the block, because if you go around the block and come back the second time, then they for sure were going to run out there and try and bang on your window. Now, every once in a while, I see a CMHA car out there or a Cleveland police car, and then they go away for a while. Crack dealers go away for a while, and then the cops go away, and then the crack dealers come back. So I don't
Ain't that a shame?
Yeah, well, I don't think there's any way to get rid of that other than tearing down the projects. But
well, it might be heading that way. Who knows?
Well, it probably is heading that way. It's just a matter of time. And I get a little tired of having people trying to flag me down to sell me drugs every time I drive by. It just gets old.
Why did you pull a Trevistano, son?
Oh,
he drove down there?
I suppose I could get down there. I'm just afraid somebody'd shoot at me. I could tell you, Trevisano did that routine. I could tell you right now where you could go buy crack cocaine in 2 different places. Easily. 2 different places, and guaranteed you'd get it. Rock crystal cocaine. But, hey, what are you going to do? Put them out of business for a week?
No, tell Trevisano to go down there.
Well,
they couldn't find it the last time.
Yeah, well, I know. He got pulled over by the cops. And like I say, I'd just be afraid that somebody'd shoot at me. So I won't go down there. I try and stay out of those neighborhoods. I'm not as bold as I used to be. But then again, I don't steal beer anymore either.
No, I don't either.
All right.
I got 2 kids. I tell them not to steal. So
I remember
I'd be
you.
a hypocrite.
I remember you calling. Yeah, we had a long talk about things we used to steal. And we used to have a guy that worked at that same convenience store that had the great beer robbery go on, and we would go in and hand him money. I don't know what he did with the money, whether he put it in the register, and he'd give us a bag, and we'd go in the back and fill it up with beer and walk out. And I think he pocketed the money. I have no clue.
Can you blame him?
No, looking back on it, I hate to tell stories like that because there's probably somebody out there who's 17 who thinks it's okay to steal.
Yeah, no, you kind of grow up and become hypocrites. You know what I mean?
I know. We become those people that we never thought we would become.
Right, old people.
Yep. All right, Glenn. Thanks.
All right, see ya.
All right. Well, it's better than the alternative, which is not getting old. This was interesting. Emailed to me at gilly@WTAM.com. At a recent computer expo, Comdex, Bill Gates reportedly compared the computer industry with the auto industry and stated if GM had kept up with technology like the computer industry, we'd be driving $25 cars that got 1,000 miles to the gallon. In response to Bill's comments, General Motors issued a press release stating if GM had developed technology like Microsoft, we'd all be driving cars with the following characteristics. For no reason whatsoever, the car would crash twice a day. Every time they repainted the lines on the road, you'd have to buy a new car. Occasionally, the car would die on the freeway for no reason. You'd have to pull over to the side of the road, close the windows, shut off the car, restart it, reopen the windows, and then continue. Occasionally, executing a maneuver such as a left-hand turn would cause the car to shut down and refuse to restart, in which case you'd have to reinstall the engine. Macintosh would make a car that was powered by the sun, was reliable, 5 times as fast, and twice as easy to drive, but would only run on 5% of the roads. The oil, water temperature, and alternator warning lights would be replaced by a single fatal error warning light. The airbag system would ask, "Are you sure?" before deploying. And you'd have to press the start button to turn the engine off. That's what would happen if GM had developed cars like Bill Gates developed computers. Sorry, Bill. I'll never badmouth you. All Bill Gates would have to do to guarantee I never badmouth him again would be to send me a check for $1 million. That's all I want, after taxes. I want $1 million after taxes. Then I could live on $70,000 a year in simple interest and still have the $1 million in the bank. Wouldn't that be wonderful? And yes, I checked the lottery numbers while we were in a break, and no, not a winner. Had 3 numbers on one line, though. Of course, that doesn't get you anything. Doesn't even get you a free ticket. I've been playing the lottery since 1984. Almost twice a week. Whenever it started, originally it was once a week. Then it went to twice a week, right? I've won the 4 out of 6 numbers twice. Now, you do the math on that. And then you wonder why I'm 4 casinos in Ohio. Think about that. $5 a shot, $10 a week, $40 a month, $500 a year, and almost 20 years. And I've won $160. Don't you think my odds would be better if they just built a casino out in Lorraine? They're talking about closing down the Ford plant or put a casino where LTV was. Don't you think my odds would be better off than playing the lottery? Probably. Triple Doppler forecast from TV3 meteorologist Eileen McShay. Tonight, upper 30s. Tomorrow, it'll be in the 40s, and then it'll get colder and start snowing. We're going to have rain in the morning, and then it'll change to snow. And then Sunday night, windy, cold, near 20. Monday, highs in the 20s. So back to winter. Enjoy it right now. It's currently 50 degrees in Cleveland. 50 degrees in Cleveland. You know, love is in the air. Wills and Coleman have Godiva chocolates and red roses from Plantrix Flowers for you to win all next week. Mike Trevisano is going to broadcast live from Mally's Candies on Brook Park Road Thursday on Valentine's Day. Isn't that adorable? The big one has a heart. News Radio, WTAM 1100.
Rick Gilmore
I can tell where this is going, and you're an a-hole.
on News Radio WTAM 1100.
I was just reading about Frank Gruttaduria. Now, if you're going to steal, that was the way to do it, huh? Turned himself into the FBI today. He's the manager of Lehman Brothers in Cleveland. He forwarded falsified financial statements that inflated the value of his clients' accounts. Investigators said he used a giant shell game to allegedly steal up to $300 million over a 15-year period. Well, now, if you stole $300 million, would you be dumb enough to turn yourself in? Don't you think this guy has enough money he could change his face? Spirit himself away to Costa Rica or someplace? Good Lord Almighty. And yet he turns himself in. Should be our new state motto. Ohio, land of stupid criminals. $300 million. And perhaps we need some new state mottos anyway. The old ones are getting a little tired. So here they are, new state mottos. Alabama. Hell yes, we have electricity. Alaska, 11,623 Eskimos, can't be wrong. Arizona, but it's a dry heat. Arkansas, literacy ain't everything. New state mottos. California, by 30, our women have more plastic than your Honda. Colorado, if you don't ski, don't bother. Connecticut, we're like Massachusetts, only the Kennedys don't own it yet. Delaware, we really do like the chemicals in our water. Florida, ask us about our grandkids. New state mottos. Georgia, we put the fun in fundamentalist extremism. Hawaii, Hakatika Shamiriki Toru, death to mainland scum, but leave your money. Idaho, more than just potatoes. Well, okay, we're not. But the potatoes sure are real good. Illinois, please do not pronounce the S. New state mottos. Indiana, 2 billion years tidal wave free. Iowa, we do amazing things with corn. Kansas, first of the rectangle states. Kentucky, 5 million people, 15 last names. New state mottos. Louisiana, we're not all drunken Cajun wackos, but that's our tourism campaign. Maine, we're really cold, but we've got cheap lobster. Maryland, if you can dream it, we can tax it. New state mottos. Massachusetts, our taxes are lower than Sweden's for most tax brackets. Michigan, first line of defense from the Canadians. Minnesota, new state motto. 10,000 lakes and 10 billion mosquitoes. Mississippi, come and feel better about your own state. Missouri, your federal flood relief tax dollars at work. Montana, land of the big sky, the Unabomber, right-wing crazies, and very little else. New state mottos. Nebraska, ask us about our state motto contest. Nevada, woo-hoo, hookers and poker. New Hampshire, go away and leave us alone. New Jersey, you want your motto? I got your motto right here. New state mottos. New Mexico, lizards make excellent pets. New York, you have the right to remain silent. You have the right to an attorney. North Carolina, tobacco is a vegetable. North Dakota, we really are one of the 50 states. New state mottos. Ohio, at least we're not Michigan. Oklahoma, like the play, but no singing. Oregon, spotted owl, it's what's for dinner. Pennsylvania, cook with coal. Rhode Island, we're not really an island. South Carolina, remember the Civil War? Well, we didn't actually surrender. South Dakota, their new state motto, closer than North Dakota. This one, it's a visual. Tennessee, the education state, spelled E-D-U-C-A-S-H-U-N. Texas, si hablo English. Yes, I speak English. Utah's new state motto, our Jesus is better than your Jesus. Vermont, yep. Virginia, who says government stiffs and slackjaw yokels don't mix? Washington State's new state motto, proposed, of course, here, right? Help! We're being overrun by nerds and slackers. Washington, D.C., want to be mayor? West Virginia, one big happy family. Really? Wisconsin, come and cut the cheese. And finally, proposed new state motto is Wyoming, where men are men and the sheep are scared.
Continuing coverage coming up at the bottom of the hour. Bulletins at 1. News Radio, WTAM 1100.
Toll-free wild card line momentarily.
The Rick Gilmour Show on News Radio WTAM 1100.
That number is 888-723-WTAM. I was reading some odd stories there. There's a woman in Conduitville, Pennsylvania, 63. She had a heart transplant. Thought this was unusual. Oh, and I want to remind you, before I get to the rest of the story, I'll make you wait like Paul Harvey. I want to remind you, after the top of the hour news at 10 o'clock, you can listen to Sex with Dr. Natasha Terry here on the big one. I had someone call her because I wanted to know what three-eyed turtle was. And I guess she explained it. And I assume, because I've played this before, that there's nothing naughty in here. I wouldn't think. Portions of the following broadcast may be found objectionable by some members of the listening audience. Therefore, listener discretion is advised. I'll give you that. But she explained three-eyed turtle to a caller because I was curious as to what it was. And it's been so long, I forgot what three-eyed turtle was, and I thought I'd like to hear that call again.
The three-eyed turtle is, and this is a technique that went around for like a lot of radio programs for years, but this is the way that I know how to do the three-eyed turtle, okay? The three-eyed turtle is when you're making love to a woman, missionary-style position, you're on top, she's on the bottom, and you take your penis, place it in your hand, and you use it as an extension of, say, like your finger, and you stimulate her C-spot with it, and the whole time you tease her with it, but you stimulate the C-spot kind of back and forth, round and round, back and forth, round and round, and then you kind of tease her with the entry thing, just a little bit of entry and then a little bit of outry. And then I'm trying to be as clean as possible, but the whole idea is get it, all three eyes are on her, you're watching her at the same time you're teasing her with your one-eyed trouser snake, okay? So that makes three eyes, calling it the three-eyed turtle.
Really?
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Sounds rather titillating. You can hear that and more when you hear Sex with Dr. Natasha Terry. So this lady, I guess she had a heart transplant, and now she has to get rid of her cats. She's doing fine, but the drugs she takes to keep her from rejecting her new heart make her more susceptible to germs found on cats and in their litter boxes. See, I don't like the idea of any kind of an animal that poops in your house. I guess that's just the way it is with cats. Not the way it is with dogs. The dogs poop outside the house. Tom Snyder, TV and radio man for years, said something at one point that he didn't even want any pets in his house at all. He said, the animals live in the barn. The people live in the house. Anyway, she's got to find a home for 6 cats that live with her and her daughter. So far, they found homes for 4 of them. She said she feels fine, but her heart's breaking because she has to get rid of the felines. Well, I have an idea. I often wondered what the APL really does with the animals they destroy. Do they really destroy them, or do they ship them off to Korea or Chinese restaurants or God knows what? If you had sweet and sour pork, well, how would you know? Would you know if it was sweet and sour cat? Who'd know the difference? Have I eaten cat? I don't know. Maybe. Be the 11th caller right now. Win a Valentine's package. This is a lovely package. Dozen long stem roses. Now, don't call the regular line. Call the contest line. I'll give you that number. Well, dozen long stem roses from Duffy's Flowers and Plants and Soul, and a bed of roses gift set from Ambiance, the store for lovers. Should be the 11th caller right now at 578-1111. That's the contest line in the 216 area code. A religious teacher in suburban Philadelphia says more than 50 high school students received extra credit for protesting outside an abortion clinic. Catholic school students protested at a Planned Parenthood clinic in Bucks County on Thursday for extra credit in their morality classes. I'm sorry, check that. Mortality classes. What's what mortality class? Teacher June Little said the extra credit was given to reward students for giving of their time. The students said they were protesting the hundreds of abortions performed at the clinic since it opened 2 years ago. The clinic also offers counseling, cancer screenings, and contraceptives. Now, how absurd is that? That a Catholic school would actually offer extra credit to have folks protest. As far as I'm concerned, listen. If you don't want to get an abortion, don't go. But it's legal, so why protest? I know it's a sticky wicket, but still. Don't we have enough problems going on without people having the free right to travel in and out of a clinic? Would you prefer that someone has an abortion at home? Or in some back room someplace? I'd think not. One would have to assume that if these procedures are going to be performed and it's legal, then so be it. Just my opinion. We don't need to go back to the days of midwives performing hackneyed jobs in back rooms. I really think they ought to have abortions available at hospitals everywhere. And some folks can't afford hospitals. I'm not saying that it's a good idea, and I'm not a woman. That's where I've always stood on this issue. I'm not a woman. How can I tell a woman what to do with her body? If she doesn't want a baby, I know she could carry it to term and then put it up for adoption, and that issue's come up in the past as well. I think it was a caller a couple nights ago said something to the effect of, why is it that we have to adopt babies from Cambodia or Vietnam or these foreign countries? Don't we have babies here? Well, I'm certain we do. Just seems odd to me, the idea of a Catholic school giving credit for someone that would go and protest at an abortion clinic. I suppose it's right up their alley. I can imagine that's how they feel. Let's go to the phones. Gay in North Olmsted, you're next.
Hi.
Hi. Oh, yeah, this is that gay lady that calls here.
I'm not really gay. It's just my name.
No, I didn't mean that. I meant your name is gay.
Right.
You've got a gay name. It's gay. That's your name.
You know, if ever I meet you in public, I'm going to smack you right upside the head for picking on me.
Why? Because I said you're gay?
Well, because it's the way you say it,
Look,
Brad.
I'm Rick and you're gay. Don't you be proud of being gay. If I were you, I'd say my name is, gay. But
no, you wouldn't.
No, I'm Rick. I'm not gay. Now
Rick,
you're gay.
Listen, Rick.
Mm-hmm.
I was named after the Enola Gay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did they drop leaflets?
You know what? You shouldn't pick on me.
Did they drop leaflets before you were born?
I hope so.
just curious.
Rick.
Did you fall out of a plane? I've heard of the stork delivering. I don't know how gays are delivered.
Why are you picking on me? All I said was Clinton should be neutered.
I'm not.
Ever since I said that, you pick on me.
Well, I'm not picking on you.
All right. You know what I'm calling about?
What?
I don't even have a guess. I don't even know what you're guessing about.
Well, that's our gay.
No, because
doesn't have a guess.
Rick, I was watching
if you guessed, it'd be a gay guess if you guessed. If I guessed, it'd be a Rick guess.
All right. You know what?
Why didn't they name?
I'm going to give you my.
Why didn't they name you Enola? Enola's a pretty name.
But you know what? I was born in 1950. Gay did not mean what it means now.
What does Enola mean? Enola Gay, you know who that was? That was Colonel...
I know,
that was Captain
Tibbetts' girlfriend.
Tibbetts, yeah. I thought it was his mother, but his girlfriend.
Oh, you know what? You might be right.
I think it was his mother. His mother was gay. His mother was Enola Gay.
I swear. I just hope I don't meet you. You are really rotten.
Well, I don't know what you mean. Just because...
I was named after... My father named me Gay because of the Enola Gay.
That's kind of a gay name.
But you have to remember, gay did not mean what it does now. As a matter of fact, you know what? I think I should sue all these people that call themselves gay.
Well, because you're gay. How many gays can there be in this world? If everyone was gay, we wouldn't be able to tell each other apart. What if my good screener Dan was named Gay? And then if good screener Tom was named Gay? I'd say, all these people I work with are gay.
Well, I know what. If I meet another guy named Rick, I'm not going to like him right off the bat.
Oh, come on, honey. I'm pulling your chain.
I know.
Okay. Well, how about a guess?
Oh, I don't know what the guess is. That wasn't what I was calling about.
Well, what were you? Oh, you were calling about who could be a new partner for Roger Ebert.
Jerry Falwell.
Jerry Fartwell?
Falwell.
Wasn't that what they called it? Wasn't that what Larry Flint called him? Did you ever see that movie?
No.
Oh, really? Well, it wasn't a gay movie. Not the kind of thing you'd like.
You know what? If you keep picking on me about my name, I'm not going to call ever again.
Oh, come on. I want you to call.
Then stop picking on me.
Couldn't you call under an assumed name?
Why?
Just, I don't call and say it's Leslie. Short for Elizabeth. You could call and say, I used to be gay, but now I'm Leslie. Wouldn't that be interesting?
You know what? I'm not calling again.
Oh, come on, please. Hello? I didn't lose her, did I? Oh, my. Now I feel bad, Gay. You know I love when you call. It's always a lot of fun. Don't be shy. Come back. Please, Gay. Come to Daddy. Yeah. Well, I guess she was offended. This is scary. The population of this country is 237 million. 104 million are retired. That leaves 133 million to do the work. There are 85 million in school, which leaves 48 million to do the work. There are 29 million people employed by the federal government, leaving 19 million to do the work. 2.8 are in the armed forces, leaves 16.2 million. Take from the total of 14,800,000 people who work for the state and city governments, that leaves 1.4 million to do the work. At any given time, there are 188,000 people in hospitals, leaving 1.2 million to do the work. Now there are 1,211,998 people in prisons. That leaves just 2 people to do the work, you and me. And I'm sitting at my computer reading jokes. So I guess that leaves 1 person to do the work. I guess it'd be you. Your triple Doppler forecast from TV3 meteorologist Eileen McShay. Tonight, clouds, upper 30s. Currently 45 degrees in Cleveland, 45 degrees. Here are all your updates on the 2002 Winter Olympics from Salt Lake City on the big one. Team coverage with ABC correspondents and updates on the medal race every morning with Wills and Coleman in the morning on News Radio, WTAM 1100. Diane, you're on the air.
Hey.
Are you east of the Cuyahoga?
Yes.
Okay, good. But you're calling on the west of the Cuyahoga line, but we'll let it slide this time.
Okay, I'm sorry.
All right, what's on your mind?
I got to tell you were talking about the cats?
The lady has to get rid of her cats because she had a heart transplant.
No, eating the cats?
Oh, well, I guess they eat cats in some foreign countries.
Well, you know how you were talking about if you go to a Chinese restaurant or something?
Yeah.
You might be eating cats?
You never know.
No, you can't, because only second generation can digest it. If you or I went and ate it, we'd get really sick. Did you know that?
No.
Yes, it's a true fact.
Well, so run that by me again. If I ate cat, I'd get sick.
You get really sick from it, right. You would get really sick. But your children, since you digested it, there's some kind of enzyme in it, your children could eat it and digest it. It's really odd.
But I'd have to eat it first.
Right.
And get really sick from it.
Yeah.
And then they'd be able to eat it.
Right.
Well, for all I know, my dad ate cat.
See?
Maybe
Maybe
we've been eating cat for generations. And so that's why we'd get sick.
Maybe. I'm gonna have to check out my Chinese restaurant now.
There you go. See, how would one ever know?
Hey, this is great talking to you.
Well, you too. Anything else?
No, that's all. Just want to say hi, and I listen to you, and I love you.
All right, thanks.
Okay.
All right, love you back there, Tigress. Well, this is interesting as well. It got emailed to me at Gilly@WTAM.com. Got a nice list here. This is just in case you ever get the two mixed up. This should help clear things up a bit. In prison, you spend the majority of your time in an 8x10 cell. At work, you spend the majority of your time in a 6x8 cubicle. In prison, you eat 3 meals a day. At work, you get only a break for 1 meal, and you have to pay for it. In prison, you get time off for good behavior. At work, you get more work for good behavior. In prison, the guard locks and unlocks all the doors for you. At work, you must carry around a security card and open all the doors yourself. In prison, you can watch TV and play games. At work, you get fired for watching TV and playing games. In prison, you get your own toilet. At work, you have to share with some idiot who pees on the seat. In prison, they allow your family and friends to visit. At work, you can't even speak to your family. In prison, all expenses are paid by the taxpayer with no work required. At work, you get to pay all the expenses to go to work. Then they deduct taxes from your salary to pay for prisoners. In prison, you spend most of your life inside bars wanting to get out. At work, you spend most of your time wanting to get out and go inside bars. In prison, you must deal with sadistic wardens. At work, they call them managers. In prison, you get all your medical needs for free, even a heart transplant. At work, you have to pay a percentage for medical coverage each month. In prison, you can go to college and study for a degree and learn a trade for free. At work, your company may not pay for your continuing education. So why is it that we go to work?
Rick Gilmore.
Media darling.
On News Radio WTAM 1100.
Congratulations to Kuka Bloom of Solon for winning the Valentine's Day pack. Our cyber vote at WTAM.com. Do you like the eye on the Indians hat, or do you like Chief Wahoo? 86% of you voting at WTAM.com said you like Chief Wahoo. I don't like the eye, because it looks like a J. But then they said they're only going to have, and I was afraid that they'd phase out Chief Wahoo. But then I guess they're only going to have the eye hats with the new shirts, right? And they have a giant Chief Wahoo on them. A huge Chief Wahoo. See, I was afraid that they were buckling under to the political correctness movement and saying, let's get rid of Chief Wahoo. Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not Indian, so it doesn't bother me. Yeah, here's something interesting emailed to me at Gilly at WTAM.com. It's rather lengthy. I don't have time to read it right this moment. It's just an update. An update of previous information about 911. You ever heard that? Maybe I'll read it after the bottom of the hour news. Yeah, this was interesting. Doctors are testing suburban Philadelphia students who've broken out in rashes this week for fifth disease, F-I-F-T-H, fifth disease, a common, usually mild virus. Dermatologist said some of the rashes may be, quote, sympathetic, meaning that the children are feeling anxiety over their itching classmates. Sykes says fifth disease causes a characteristic slapped cheek rash. Says tests on the student and one teacher were negative. Investigators are also looking into whether environmental factors such as cleaning agents are to blame. Now, I have this rash on my hand. Maybe I should hold it up for the webcam. We can get a doctor to take a look at it. And it's a rash that comes back in the exact same spot and goes away and comes back in the exact same spot. It's not like herpes or anything. It's on my hand. And somebody said, well, it could be itchy because of the dry heat in the house in the wintertime and all that sort of thing. I said, I had it in the summertime. Where the hell, was this from being with a woman with unprotected sex? Do I get a rash on my hand? Lord knows. Somebody said, well, you should probably go in and have it. You should probably go in and have it looked at. They'll scrape it and do a culture on it and tell you what it is. I said, I don't want anybody scraping it. It's a rash. Maybe it's psoriasis. Can you develop psoriasis? Or are you born with it? I don't know. I'm Rick Gilmore, M.D., but that's not medical doctor. It's media darling. Dwayne, you're on the air.
Good evening, Rick. How are you tonight?
Oh, I'm good.
You know, Rick, I got something for you. You might have been paying attention to it. I don't know. But a couple of times, I've got up 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, and it's a clear blue sky. And then all of a sudden, within a matter of an hour, these jets keep going back and forth, crisscross, and making X's. And next thing you know, within 2 or 3 hours, we get artificial clouds. I've talked to a few policemen. I've talked to other people, brought them out of the house and show it. And nobody seems to understand that they are making artificial skies. And it's hush-hush.
And they're making clouds.
Yeah.
And we wonder why.
I turned around and I took 15 pictures, probably about 4 or 5 months ago, and I labeled them 1 through 15.
Oh,
and I sent them to Tom Merriman, and I even called him, and I've never heard nothing more about the subject.
Well, I don't know. I'll put that out there for anybody listening that might know why we're making artificial clouds. Perhaps Dwayne's on some sort of drugs. I haven't noticed. And maybe Tom Merriman figured maybe Dwayne's on some sort of drugs, because he hadn't noticed either. Now coverage of what in the world's happening, and it begins right this second.
In-depth commuter and travel information.
Stupid, he's always got a wreck on it.
Social commentary.
It's a four-car grouping of numbskulls. They drive that stretch of road, tailgate speed, weaving in and out.
Political fire starting.
Nobody in Jay Campbell's administration does a dang thing about it.
And this is just one traffic report. Aggressive pursuit of the speed limit.
Back it up real quick.
Every 10 minutes on the 10.
I'm Rick Gable, Sky Chief, helicopter traffic.
Mornings and afternoons on the big one.
News Radio WTAM 1100.
Rick Gilmour.
I would love to just come on and call somebody a dickless moron.
Wow.
That's,
I think you just did.
Oh, you didn't bleep that?
No.
Sorry there, Gilly.
Nope.
I got to go.
All right. Talk to you later.
On News Radio WTAM 1100.
I'll tell you, I get some odd email at Gilly@WTAM.com. I was talking earlier about when the cows come home. This guy emailed to correct me. Said, have you ever heard the word grazing in reference to a diet? It comes from the fact that cows eat all day long. When they're out in pasture, they can eat grass all day long. Most farmers have grazing sheds, and there's hay and water available all the time. A milking cow is similar to a nursing mother. When there's too much milk in their udders, it becomes full and painful, and it starts leaking milk. By milking them regularly, it relieves the pressure. Yes, they can come home at certain times due to training, usually 6 a.m. and 6 p.m., and usually it's because they need to be milked. And there's always food available. And I called the WTAM feedback phone, the 888-358-WTAM, and I was being silly and asking why there aren't hot dog buns in packages of 10. And this person continues to write, as to the hot dogs, cut up the 2 extra into baked beans, or if you have toddlers, you can cut them up for them to eat. I was kidding. I know what to do with 2 extra hot dogs. Eat them with bread if you run out of buns. But this person felt the need to give me some sort of advice on what to do with the 2 extra hot dogs. And as to bathrooms, I really hate it when women feel the need to stand over the toilet, making a mess and not cleaning up after themselves. Do they really think they're going to get AIDS from a toilet seat? Since you have to exchange bodily fluids for that to occur, they either sit strangely, or they have a lot of open sores on their thighs. Well, thank you much, sir, for that one. A little more visual than I thought was necessary. This from Mount Healthy, Ohio. Mount Healthy. About 16 Cincinnati area families who paid ahead for pre-planned funerals found out that their money has disappeared. I've never understood the idea of pre-planning or prepaying for a funeral. I don't know, it just seemed to me. It was one of those things I'd let somebody else worry about the expense. How's that for being kind and thoughtful of other people? The families say they haven't lost faith in the funeral industry after other funeral homes, casket makers, florists, and other businesses donated services. Last week, a Hamilton County grand jury indicted the former director of Hawthorne Bowles Funeral Home in the theft of about $82,000. Gerald Bowles faces up to 20 years in prison. He sold the funeral home in the suburb of Mount Healthy last year. Funeral industry officials say such thefts are extremely rare. Oh, really? Well, when they buried my grandfather, they asked for a pair of shoes. So we took in a real nice pair of shoes, and then my aunt and I pulled the blanket back when he was in the casket. You know what? There were no shoes. What do they do with the shoes? Then it was a gay funeral director. And he said something to the other funeral director about, perhaps I was as well endowed as my grandfather. Gee, I wouldn't know. I never looked. Apparently they did. I think there's all sorts of funny business goes on in the funeral industry. Why is it they stand around the caskets and when they close them up, you don't know what they're doing. They close off them little doorways. You're not supposed to see what they're doing. Are they taking off the rings? Probably. How many people get dug up? How many people get exhumed? Not many, and then you could say, well, it was somebody that worked here before, but they're gone now. We fired them. Yeah, right. Carl, west of the Cuyahoga, you're on the air.
Hello.
Howdy.
Hey, this is Carl, and
yes,
I was compounding your interest on your gambling habit for the Ohio Lottery. If you'd have put that away in the bank at simple 2% interest, you'd have $12,377 in the bank today.
Are you just trying to make me feel bad?
No, I'm feeling bad myself because I said the same darn thing.
That sounds like a lot of money.
Well, it's a down payment on some good car. That's what that is.
Well, I'll tell you, in some regards, though, people think we're going to win a lot of money, and so it's worth the chance to gamble.
Well, that's true, but I just wanted to go back. You were talking about funerals just a second there.
Yes.
Our Social Security, that big thing that we're going to be paying for, and to comfort us in our old age.
Yes.
Yeah, they kick in $250.
Yeah, I remember hearing that. That won't even buy it certainly won't buy you a casket.
No, somebody said it's like the pillow in the casket, or it covers something, but I'm not quite sure, because usually you sign that off directly and goes right to the funeral home.
See, to me,
you never even see it.
What people ought to do is be shown, because that's for the living, and then be cremated. That way, you wouldn't have to waste a box. You wouldn't have to bury it. What do they think they're going to come back and need their body again?
Well, they have to change the speed a little bit, but Hong Kong, you're allowed to be buried for 5 years.
And then they dig you up.
They dig you up, and then they put you in a little urn and put you in a mausoleum in this huge 10-story building that's got these little plaques on the wall with this little urn inside, and that's where you are forever. But you get to go, and they actually have a real funeral, and they put you in the ground, and then you're there for 5 years, or sooner. I mean, if somebody will pay you to, exhume and cremate and all of that, and they'll get you out of there. But you can only stay in there only 5 years.
Think of all the golf courses that we could have in this country if it weren't for cemeteries.
You got that right.
I heard that they were burying people standing up in some parts of the world so that they'd take up less space.
That's true. And then here they've changed the law that you can... I think we can go 4 deep now, and you can put 4 urns in the corner so that you can get almost like 8 people in one spot.
Yeah, it seems to me that, I wonder, I just think people make a big to-do about making sure that well, I suppose it's the funeral industry that says you got to have a good seal on the box, and you got to have this because they're trying to keep you away from the cheesy product. They want you to buy the top-of-the-line $5,000 casket. What's it really matter?
Well, the whole thing is in Ohio anyway, with the bombing industry is so good that they can exhume, and somebody 50 years done properly, they look as good 50 years from now that they did when they went in.
See, I tried asking funeral directors questions because somebody told me that when how can I word this? When you are embalmed, they take out your guts and stuff you full of newspaper, because otherwise the fluid wouldn't get through all the organs inside of you. It would cause you to rot. And I couldn't get anybody to admit to that.
Well, yeah, the fluid, the embalming fluid, formaldehyde, is the stuff that is put in your veins and your blood's taken out. And that's what preserves you.
Okay, but how can it get all through you? I mean, it's not going to get inside your liver, is it? I mean, there's no heart pumping.
No, the pump is pumped. They have a pump that pumps it into you.
Right, but that's why I thought it might have made sense to me to take out some parts inside of you and stitch you back up, because if it couldn't circulate through some of them parts, then they're going to rot and the other stuff won't.
Well, yeah, they have to do a certain removing of organs, because you wouldn't be able to go and stand there at the funeral parlor.
That's what I was thinking, and I could not get these people to admit to that.
Well, they don't want... See, they're in a delicate position because they don't want to... Some people are very upset with the body being desecrated. And they're feeling that if the body's touched and cut, that this is not that person and the body should be whole. And, that's the Jewish religion says if the guy dies today, he's going to be buried by sunset. That's it. They don't wait around.
Well, I know in reality, they stitch eyes shut. Then they probably stitch your thingy to your leg so it won't stand up.
Or something.
Or something. Yeah. Well, I don't know how we got on this topic.
I don't know, Doc, but I appreciate it, and I like your MD at the end, because as far as I'm concerned, you're the best doctor on the air.
All right, thank you much.
Talk to you later.
All right. Well, what about, I don't know, there's other doctors on the air. I remember listening to Dr. Dean Adele, and he was talking about how some surgeons in the morning, take a little bit of morphine just to take the edge off. And he said things that people would be shocked and surprised and amazed. And so why does it not surprise me that they would cut you apart when you're dead and stuff you full of newspaper? What do they do with the shoes is what I want to know. My grandfather should have been buried in $100 and some pair of floor shimes. And instead he's in his stocking feet. There should be an investigation. Find out what these funeral homes are bilking and taking shoes. Can you imagine if you went to a funeral director's home and you see your loved one's shoes on his shoe tree? Hey, wait a minute, where'd you get them shoes? So I assume that if you're... Why do you need shoes anyway? See, this is my wonder when people spend all that time worrying about funerals. It's like, where are you going to be walking to? That you would need shoes, and if they cover you up with a blanket and you can't see the shoes anyway, I think they're just scamming you for shoes. That's all it is. We don't ever have to buy our kids shoes ever again. We've got dead people's shoes that we stole from people that they bring in. Of course you'd bring in the best shoes, wouldn't you? Nobody'd want to be buried in beat up old shoes now, would they? I'll bet you there's people that go out and buy brand new shoes. Maybe their loved one didn't have any nice shoes, so they buy brand new ones. And the funeral directors take them home and laugh, have a good laugh at our expense. Ha, ha, ha. I've got the shoe.
Hello.
Big One's feedback
I would like to make a couple of comments.
1-888-358-WTAM.
The guy that you have on from 11:30 to 12,
Harvey,
the older man,
1,000 years
says
old.
the rest of the story. He drones on for half an hour.
We enjoy and indeed contemplate each and every message you
I would
leave.
really like to hear the rest of Glenn Beck.
Twisted psycho.
Instead of older guy.
Now fossilized.
However, be advised, this is our radio
Maybe
station.
tens of thousands of years old.
Man stays. WTAM.
The big one.
1100.
He's not really 1,000. Only 800 and something.
Rick Gilmore.
What? Stop. Who is it? That's my dog.
On News Radio WTAM 1100.
Your triple Doppler forecast from TV3 meteorologist Eileen McShay. Tonight, upper 30s, currently 45, which is pretty nice considering tomorrow it's going to fall from the 40s into snow. That ain't too good. But what are you going to do? It's February. Yeah, remember if you call that feedback line, 888-358-WTAM, they can use your comments on the air and poke fun of you at your expense. Well, that's all right. You know who we haven't heard of lately? Gary Conduit. I mentioned a good board-up Jeremy. I says, how come we haven't heard about Gary Conduit lately? And he says, probably not until after the Olympics. But at some point, we want to find out what really happened to Shandra Levy, don't we? I do. And I'm so glad that Gary Conduit finally admitted that they had a tryst. Because that way it gave me justification for saying what I did when I did the weekend that one week. When I begged the question if Shandra Levy was a slut or what. Well, I put some of the blame on her. Sleeping around with some ugly old congressman. Why? Because he's a congressman. Trying to sleep her way to the top. Speaking of the top, after the top of the hour news, you can hear sex with Dr. Natasha Terry. Call up and ask her about Three-Eyed Turtle. Or Dutch Oven.
Yeah, baby.
My wife likes the smell of eggs cooking in the morning, so I usually break wind and pull the covers over her head. But why haven't we heard anything more of Gary Conduit? Well, I don't know. I found my Gary Conduit song. It's been so long since I've played it. I started doing the math, and I started thinking, that's been months and months and months and months and months have gone by. It's still amusing.
Yeah, we Democrats are lusty, but Clinton went free. You'll never pin this rap on a guy like me.
I was just looking in today's Plain Dealer. You see that they have Arts and Life has serious questions about comics. And I'm looking at the one and it says, how often do you read these comics that appear in the Sunday paper? And one of them's Uncle Art's Funland. I wasn't even aware that Uncle Art had a Funland. It sounds to me like Uncle Art might be into something I don't want to know about. Come to Uncle Art's Funland. Just sick, isn't it? Oh, well. I'll say my thank yous and go home. And you can listen to Sex with Dr. Natasha Terry. I want to thank you for calling. I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank Rob Hagel and Stephanie Warner for board hopping. I want to thank Jeremy Bruce for screening the calls, even though he's on Jim Donovan's list, which I don't think I have time to play. I'd like to thank Jeff Sukakis, the promotions director, Dave Ianni, our general sales manager, Carmen Angelo with news, and Brian Engel also. Roland Mark Nolan with the triple Doppler forecast from Channel 3. I'd like to thank Matt Camarado, engineer, back in Mission Control, Ali Wade, our continuity director, Marty Kilroy, network systems engineer, Jeff Tyree, webmaster, Ray Davis, program director, Kevin Matheny, operations manager, Jim Meltzer, general manager, Joe Tate. I'd like to thank Boomsha and Johnny Cash.
Thanks, Rick.
If you see news happen, call the WTAM News tip line, 216-642-INFO, 216-642-4636. News Radio WTAM 1100.